Alright, let's jump right into the purpose of this video. I will be showcasing my best runs for each of the challenges listed on the screen. Comes from the Aimer 7 Advanced Beginner Click Training, and I did this over the last week. I will also be talking about what my focus was in the different challenges, what I think I'm doing well and not doing well, and then I'll be showing my averages for each day at the end of the clip. So the first challenge of the week was 1 wall 6 targets TE, pretty standard static click training course where my big focus was going from dot to dot with as straight lines as possible. Still working on this, but doing something that Noted suggested where you do some of your runs very, very slowly and try to build muscle memory of going perfectly straight and not shaky at all from dot to dot. So I actually did the first 10 runs each morning with that strategy, and then I did the last 5 runs trying to go for scores and go as fast as possible. Another focus for me was clicking faster when you have small clusters of dots, as that can get you out of your normal tempo and clicking and help improve your score. And so as this finishes up, we'll move into the averages for the week in this course. And there'll be a screenshot right here you could see. This is my graph. I've been storing all of my runs in a Google spreadsheet and tracking that. And so I could do things like this graph. You could see my trend of my day 1 was really good, drop down to day 2, pretty significant decrease, and then worked my way back up over the next couple days. Moving on to the next challenge, we have 1 wall 6 targets small. Again, my focus was drawing straight lines from dot to dot, and on this one specifically trying to have really high accuracy, as precision is required more in this one than in 1 wall 6 targets TE. Another focus on my runs that were fast runs was going from dot to dot as fast as possible and then making the micro adjustments required to hit the dot. And I also did the same Noted strat where my first 5 runs were precision, slow muscle memory building runs, and then my second half were faster, trying to work on getting scores. I think to get better at this one specifically, it's going to require a lot of more precision-based scenarios, and I definitely can still get better at the drawing straight lines from dot to dot. So let's move into the graph. Here is the graph for the week of my averages. Day 1, again, good start, dropped down a little bit day 2, but picked it back up faster and had less of a steep improvement on 1 wall 6 targets small, as this is one that I've done in the past before this week. The next challenge is LG Pin Practice 360, which is the first tracking challenge in this routine. My big focus on this is not having that super shaky Apex Legends tracking aim, as well as having very good horizontal tracking. I'm not too focused on improving my vertical tracking in this challenge, as I have a very good vertical long strafe score, and I think that's my stronger point between vertical and horizontal. Another thing that I focused on in this was quickly switching from target to target, as it is a 360 routine. You do get that full mousepad usage when you're going from one corner to another corner to find another pin. Another note is that I didn't use headphones at all when I was doing my routines this week, because I was listening to music on a different set of headphones, so I didn't have the audio cues to know where the bots were actually spawning in. And let's move over to the average graph. So this is the first graph out of the 3 challenges that we've shown so far that has a pretty continuous upward trend, which is really exciting, because LG Pin Practice 360 is another challenge that I've done before this week of training, and it feels really good to know that I'm still making progress after so many runs. So the next challenge is Tile Strafing 360, where we're clicking on these moving tiles. It has a fun combination of switching from target to target that's strafing and moving around, as well as getting these small clusters where you can go for really fast clicks with small micro adjustments. One of my focuses with this challenge was moving around as fast as possible and trying to maintain 85 to 95% accuracy, as Gamer7 says to balance between accuracy and speed on this. If you're on the high end of 95% accuracy, you can go a little bit more for speed, and if you're on the low end of 85% accuracy, you can go a little bit more for accuracy. This is another one where you can speed up the tempo when there are those small clusters of squares and improve your score. One last note for this challenge is this is the first one in the routine where I hadn't done the challenge before this week of aim training, and so as we move into the average graph, we get to see what that looks like. Here it is. So a lot of steady improvement with a little bit of slumping on the last day, but overall pretty good improvement. Moving on to the next challenge, we have the second tracking challenge in this routine, Rec Strafe Scada. This one has a big focus on horizontal tracking, and specifically I was focused on smooth horizontal tracking. Another focus was snapping back to the target when it changes direction, and with most of these horizontal tracking challenges, you want to believe that whatever direction the target's moving in, it's going to continue moving that way, and then you use your reaction to snap back to the target. So it's better to continue with it than be skeptical that it might turn around, and you might lose score if it doesn't turn around. This is another challenge where I've done this challenge before this week, so I am familiar with it. However, I did end up smashing my score in this video. Looking at the graph, we do have a pretty steady upward trend with a huge upward trend on the first 2 days as I got back into the challenge. This routine when I'm focusing more on the top of the map versus if I go down and look at the bottom. The rest of the way out, as it is a little bit longer, and I'll be back to talk about the graph. Five targets passive is another challenge where this is my first week doing it, and you can see in the graph as I figured out the strategies better, my averages increased. The last challenge of this routine is Ground Plaza Easy, which is by no means easy. This is actually my worst challenge in the whole routine. It's another horizontal tracking one with a combination of all kinds of different bots, like some that teleport, some that get really close, and some that strafe really fast. I definitely do the worst on the bots that get close and strafe fast together, as my reaction time for that isn't very good, as you can see on this bot right now. I'd say my main focus going forward for this is just smoothing out my aim a little bit. It looks a little shaky and like I'm flailing around trying to find the target when it moves. I'd say my best bot in this one is either one of the further away slow moving ones, or there's one that's pretty slow moving that gets up and close and you can just do long elbow tracking This is one where if I wanted to get a really good score, I would probably practice the invincible versions of these bots. I believe there are challenges that have each individual bot. You can practice the ones you're weaker at. So for me, that would be those close ones and the fast ones and the UFOs going everywhere. And again, this is a longer challenge, so I'm going to let the rest of the video play out, and then I'll be back to talk about the graph. So here's the graph. As you can see, pretty steady increase, very small marginal score changes for each day, but I think in the most part I'm trending in the right direction. And that wraps up my video on the first week of Advanced Beginner Click Training from Aimer7. I will link his theory paper about the aim routines in the description below. And I plan on making another video on my second week of doing the Advanced Beginner Training next week.